What's up, y'all? It's me, your Intrepid Songwriter, chronicling my adventures as a songwriter, because seriously, who does that? On the show today, I have someone who's a producer, who is a performer, who's a songwriter, who tracks live sound, a former student, and someone I'm glad to welcome to the show, Miss Melissa Jones. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm great. Great. Yeah, can't complain too much.
Cool. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Good. All right, well, let's jump right in. Do you remember, first of all, how old you were when you wrote your first song, and what was the name of the song you wrote?
First song. Well, I actually started playing guitar really when I was probably about 5 or 6.
Okay.
And at the time, while my parents had split up, when my sister and I were about 3, and the guitar actually belonged to my mom's boyfriend at the time, and we would just kind of strum chords and hit random notes, nothing fancy. I don't think we ever had song titles, just messing around with stuff. When they broke up, obviously the guitars no longer exist in my house, so once high school came around, I actually purchased my first guitar, and kind of just wrote more instrumental type stuff. Nothing really with a song title or anything, just kind of learned how to figure out chord structures and what sounded good to me, kind of just wrote from there.
So more self-taught kind of stuff?
Pretty much.
Okay.
A lot of people like to start working on songs that are made, from bands, famous songs and stuff. They like to learn that way, but actually my sister and I just started writing our own stuff at first. We didn't try and learn other people's songs. We wanted to get the feel for writing music strictly just on our own basis. And then kind of once we got good enough to where we thought we could try and learn a song, then we would try and attempt to learn one
Okay.
or two. So it's kind of a backward way of thinking, but I think in a way it kind of opened up doors for us to really be original. We didn't have anyone's thoughts in our head when it came to writing songs. We just kind of went with it.
And this sister is, of course, your twin sister.
My twin, yes.
Twin sister.
I tried to convince her to come in with me today, but she was too shy. So.
Okay.
But yeah, she's usually my partner in crime when I write songs. We usually throw ideas back and forth and that sort of thing. So. She's a big influence when it comes to figuring stuff out. I play bass. I play keyboards. I sing, and very basic drums. Nothing fancy. I wish I could play a lot better on drums, but I think. Most of the instruments that I have now are pretty much good enough for me. It's kind of a laundry list. Started out playing guitar, then went to keyboards, and in school, when you're in grade school, they have you try out for the band, and I actually tried to play the flute, which didn't go very well. I was very terrible at it. Ended up quitting, and then once high school came around, I was always interested in playing guitar. Ever since I was a little kid, having played that acoustic, it stuck with me. I always wanted to learn how to play. So once it came time for learning an instrument and actually saving up the money, I was like, I should do this. I should really, pick it up and see if I can remember what I was trying to attempt to learn when I first started playing. So with it stuck with me, I just eventually just saved up enough money and went to a music store, and the first guitar I seen was like that one, and I bought it. I still own it actually too. It's like one of those it should be mounted on the wall, never touched again because it's been through so much stuff, but I still play it every now and again. It's just like a staple. I can't get rid of it. I can't do anything. It's my first guitar, and it's actually pretty unique. I haven't seen anything out there like it, the same color scheme and that sort of thing. So
It's got a lot of history with it.
pretty much.
Wow. Is there any particular genre that you gravitated to?
My family is a rock-oriented family. That was mainly
A rock-oriented
family.
That's awesome. How is that not awesome? That's awesome.
They love bands like Black Sabbath and the Beatles and the Doors and Led Zeppelin and all those bands that made rock the way it is today. So I kind of grew up listening to that, and eventually just got into heavier music. So I grafted more towards metal, and the whole metal scene very intrigued me from a very young age. My parents and my uncles and aunts would take me to concerts even at a young age. I think I was 10 years old and had seen over 20 different bands, classic rock bands, metal bands, all sorts of things. I've been backstage meeting famous people, and just being in that scene since I was a little kid just intrigued me. And so when it came time to actually wanting to write music, that's what stuck with me the most. So
what would you say is the difference between, let's start with classic rock and metal? If you had to describe them to someone that had never heard them, what would you say?
I would say that Well, obviously metal is very loud and very annoying to most people because the lyrics and the vocals usually are very growly, very aggressive. Screaming usually incorporates most of the lyrics. Not all of them. There are some bands that don't. But it's very a very aggressive, pretty much in-your-face style of music. Whereas classic rock is more lighter. Not that it's not heavy, but it's just got its own feel towards it. It's more, I don't want to say technical, but it's just has its own influences, more classical wise, whereas metal has the same influences, it's just a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
Well, you said aggressive.
aggressive, yeah.
In your face
And just,
Well, tell me this now, in terms of just the inspiration for metal lyrics, where would you start? For example, if someone came to like me and you and said, okay, now two of you write a metal song, where would we start lyrically?
Lyrically, some people like to write songs just for the fun of it. You know, there's a few friends of mine that take really horrible things but turn it into something funny. So they'll write about something that's ridiculous, but even make it even more ridiculous and try and make it funny and lighthearted. So you kind of get both worlds. You kind of get like a funny, weird ambience, but it, you know, just it is what it is. Some people like to write that way too.
So you're saying a lot of it actually is catharsis.
I would say so.
Cool. Well, I mean, metal isn't the only genre that does that, because
no.
blues is about that too.
Right.
You know, most of the blues is about the crappy stuff that's happened to you.
That is true. Hip hop too is kind of the same way. Some of the, I kind of, you know, they're kind of on the same parallel to me sometimes, because a lot of the music, even though it's, you know, opposite sides of the spectrum, they kind of incorporate themselves. You know, there's always talk of something horrible, and they try and make something out of real life scenarios. So I kind
That's
of
really true. That's really true.
Something most people don't think about. You know, we when I was in history, English class rather, we did a battle on like rap versus metal, and it was me and my sister did this song, and a couple other kids that were into rap and that whole genre wrote a song. We kind of battled it out, and it really, after you sat back and listened to it, it's like, well, there's really kind of the same side, you know, to the story, just a different point of view. So. It's something to think about. Not a lot of people like to say it, but, you know, that's the way I see it as.
No, that's very true. It's very true. Okay, so then, besides yourself, who would be your favorite writer?
My favorite writer. Maybe I might even have to do top 3 bands.
Okay, that's
Because I don't think I can even do top 3 writers.
That's cool.
But one of my favorite bands I listen to is Demure Bergier. They're a band that I love because just the music that they do just blows me away, and they incorporate a lot of instrumental, a lot of orchestra to their music, and it's one of those bands that pretty much have standed the test of time. You know, we've got a lot of bands that come through that are great, and then they kind of just fade away, and this is one of the bands that just every album they put out pretty much is, you know, top charts for them, so it's one of the favorite bands that I have. I listen to them all the time. Let's see, top 3 writers. Okay, actually, I can say my friend's band blows me away pretty good. Actually, I have their t-shirt on.
What's the name of that band?
They Die Screaming.
Okay.
They are a local band. They're from Chicago, and I've known them for 5-6 years now, maybe even a little bit longer than that, but long enough. And they're just one of those bands that their music just blows me away. I go to their shows and I see them, and I'm just like, I wish I could take what they have and just give it to somebody who's out there that can make it happen for them, because they try really hard and they work very hard. They put all their heart and soul into it, and you know, they get a great turnout, and it still seems like it's so difficult for them just to get ahead. And they're just one of my favorite bands. You know, they're great people to be around, and they always make me think when I'm writing music. Like, they always kind of throw something at me that's like, oh, I would have never done that before. So I love listening to them, and going to their shows is always fantastic.
Okay, so tell me this. What do you know now that you wish you'd known when you first started out writing? Like, what kind of lessons have you learned that you're like, if you could talk to your younger self, you'd be like, you know what, Melissa, you need to know this?
I would have liked to have gotten a more rounded grasp on theory. Not that I don't know a lot now, but I really started taking theory in college, and I wish I would have known more when I was starting to learn how to play music and starting to learn how to incorporate that into my writing, because there's so much good stuff in theory that you don't really think about when it comes to writing. And if I would have had that as a foundation, it would have been, I think, more well-rounded as a musician, knowing theory better than I do now.
Okay. So definitely getting that music theory foundation in terms of education.
I think so.
Would have helped when you're first starting out.
I think so. I mean, I've had some phenomenal music teachers, throughout my entire school curriculum, and I would just wish that it would have been more, more focused on it. I know it's hard too, though. Schools are, always cutting arts and stuff like that, and it's hard for teachers to kind of throw that at you at such a young age. But I think if they would have, it would have been really cool.
All right, last question. If you could give one piece of advice to aspiring songwriters, people that are just starting out, what would you say?
Oh, I've got so much advice. I don't know if I could say just one, but I would definitely say, first and foremost, do it because you love it, not for the money. Because this industry is a beast, and money's not always there, and when it is, it doesn't always come right when you want it to. So if you're going to get into writing music, make sure that you do it because you love it, not for the paycheck. Second thing I would definitely say is to definitely get a well-rounded knowledge of the music industry itself. No contracts, no label terms, no all sorts of things when it comes to split sheets and stuff, whether you're with a band or just writing yourself. Know what it takes to be in the industry, because everyone wants to write songs and they create songs to make it big, but when that happens, no one has a plan for it. We've discussed this in class plenty of times where, what if it does happen? What if you do make it big? What's going to happen? Well, there's a lot of people that get so excited that they kind of tend to forget or just simply don't know, what comes with that. It's not always fame and glamour and, the rock star lifestyle. So I would say, definitely do your homework. Make sure that when you're writing something, whether it's with somebody or not, that you've got everything worked out so that when the time does come, if it ever comes, that you're well prepared for it.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today,
Absolutely.
Melissa.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, as always, I want you to hit that like button, leave me some comments, post a response video, and my motto, never stop writing.
Blase blue da bleep blop blue.